This minifigure is worth $1, and this minifigure is worth $10,000. These minifigures were both released by LEGO though, so why is one worth an insane amount of money while the other one is worth less than a pack of gum? Well, today I'll be going over some cheap but also some really expensive minifigures. Let's go. For the first minifigure, let's take a look at this $1 Battle Droid minifigure. And yes, it really is only worth $1. This minifigure was first seen in the year 2007, and the last time we've seen it released was actually just last year in 2023, so there's no wonder it isn't worth a whole lot. In its 17-year lifespan, this Battle Droid minifigure has come in 33 different LEGO items. It's been in sets like the ATTE Walker from 2022, the Trade Federation MTT set from 2007, and it's even been seen in multiple advent calendar sets, which are only available during certain seasonal events. Since it's been around for so long and has been in so many different sets, I think it's safe to say there's a reason why this guy is only worth $1. For this next minifigure, let's take a look at a minifigure on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This is the Spiderwoman minifigure, and it's worth over $7,500. Now, you might be wondering, how can one singular minifigure be worth so much money? Well, it's actually because this minifigure was only available one time at a very specific location. Back in 2013, it was given to lottery winners at the San Diego Comic-Con. It came in a little booster pack, so it didn't actually come with any pieces. Nevertheless, you had to be extremely lucky to get your hands on this minifigure back in 2013, especially because you only had 4 days to obtain it. That is, if you bought tickets for all 4 days of Comic-Con. Okay, so we've looked at minifigures that are both super cheap and super expensive, so why don't we look at one that's right in the middle? This is the Azog minifigure from the Lord of the Rings theme, and I know it said it's right in the middle, but it's actually still super expensive. In today's market, this minifigure is worth over $2,000, and funnily enough, it was also available at the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, but this one wasn't won through a lottery. This minifigure was actually just handed out to random guests of Comic-Con that year. It came in a booster pack, just like Spider-Woman, so you'd think it would have been exclusive to the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, but that's actually not the case. Later that year, Azog was released in the Dol Guldur Battle set, which made him a lot less rare than he was before. Regardless of this, the minifigure has been able to maintain its value over the years, and odds are it's not going down anytime soon. Up next, who's a minifigure whose price really doesn't make any sense. This is the Adidas Superstar minifigure from 2007, and you won't believe how much it's worth. Back in 2007, LEGO and Adidas teamed up and released a promotional set to help widen the audience for both of their companies. The promotion was called the Super Goalie Promotion. So as a result, LEGO released this minifigure with giant goalie hands and an exclusive golden soccer ball along with a stand. It must not have done very well though, because there isn't a single one of these sets for sale in today's market. And on top of that, only a handful have sold in the 17 years since it was originally made. Now, taking all of this into account, you'd think the price for a minifigure like this would be through the roof, but it actually isn't. As it stands right now, this minifigure is only worth around $600, which is definitely a lot of money, but isn't anywhere near enough for how rare the minifigure is. Man, the LEGO market really is confusing sometimes. Up next is this insane golden Sensei Wo minifigure. Now, as we know with most golden minifigures, they're usually worth an insane amount of money, but that's actually not the case with this guy. If you wanted to get your hands on this golden Sensei Wo minifigure, you'd only have to spend around $15, which for a gold minifigure is pretty good. Okay, if it wasn't obvious yet, this minifigure is in no way made of real gold, but it's still a cool alternative for the $300,000 solid gold C-3PO. I don't think any of us are ever affording something like that. Up next is a version of Darth Vader you might not have known about. This is the LEGO Darth Vader Chrome Black minifigure, and it's honestly one of the coolest minifigures on this list. We all know how famous LEGO Star Wars is, so it isn't surprising that LEGO has made so many different versions of Darth Vader over the years, but this one is special. Back in 2009, only 10,000 of them were made, and along with that, this minifigure was secretly slipped into LEGO Star Wars sets in the US and Europe, so you had to be super lucky to get your hands on one of them. They were also given out at the 2009 New York Toy Fair as a gift for coming to the fair. This guy was rare to begin with, but in today's market, he's worth anywhere from $450 to $600 depending on the condition. Unfortunately, there's no way LEGO will ever release this minifigure again, so if you really want it, you'll have to cough up the money. Up next is a minifigure you'll definitely recognize. This is the classic red astronaut minifigure, or as I like to call it, me. This is one of the most famous minifigures in the history of LEGO, but because of this fame, it's been in a bunch of different sets, some of which are from all the way back in 1968. Luckily for you though, that means you can get one for a very small amount of money. If you went to buy one of these guys right now, you'd have to pay anywhere from 50 cents to $100 depending depending on what year it's from. So for the sake of your wallet, I recommend you get a newer one. Up next is a minifigure that's actually only ever been in one LEGO set ever, making it pretty rare and decently expensive. This is the Davey Jones minifigure from the Pirates of the Caribbean theme, and the only set this minifigure has been released in was the Black Pearl back in October of 2011. Because of this, the Davey Jones minifigure is worth around $150, which isn't too bad when you compare it to something like Spiderwoman, but it's still a steep price to pay for just one minifigure. Oh, and by the way, if you thought you could just buy the LEGO set itself for cheap and resell Davey Jones for a profit, you'd be mistaken, because the set itself goes for upwards of $1,000. So I'd go ahead and abandon that idea if I were you. Up next is a minifigure that doesn't even seem real. This is the will.i.am minifigure from the year 2016. will.i.am is a music artist who's most famously known for being a leading member of the Black Eyed Peas, but this didn't stop him from being an active LEGO fan. In fact, he even wore a LEGO hat and a LEGO chain to the AMAs back in 2010, so he definitely wasn't trying to hide it. will.i.am's love for LEGO got recognized over the years, and 6 years after he pulled off this stunt at the AMAs, he had his very own minifigure released by LEGO themselves. Unfortunately for us, it was very hard to obtain, and as a result is extremely expensive these days. Only 400 of them were made, and they were given out at LA's Best Brunch fundraiser. Out of these 400, only one is on the market as it stands today, and the price on it has been set for 8,000 euros. That's over $8,500 in America. Unreal. Up next is a minifigure that's way cheaper than it is cool, which is great news for us. This is the Sandman minifigure from the LEGO Marvel theme, more specifically, the SpiderMan trilogy. It was released back in 2021, so it's actually pretty new. It comes in two sets from the LEGO Marvel theme, the famous Daily Bugle and the much smaller Spider-Man Sandman Showdown set. Only one of these sets is available right now, and as you could probably guess, it's the expensive one. Luckily for us though, this minifigure only costs around $5 to buy separately, which is super cheap. The Sandman is a super unique minifigure and would look great with any collection, so paying $5 for it really is a steal. I think I'm gonna have to pick one up for myself. For this next segment, instead of talking about just one minifigure, I'm gonna show you guys three. These are the three minifigures in question, and right off the bat, you're probably thinking that they look a little boring. Although you may be right about that, the story behind them is the complete opposite. Back in 2011, NASA sent probe Juno out to Jupiter to try and learn more about the planet. This probe launch was actually a collaboration with LEGO, and with the probe, NASA sent these three minifigures along with it. LEGO is all about imagination and education, so this was the perfect way to expand their fans' knowledge of space. The thing about this probe, though, was that it was never actually supposed to come back. Jupiter is a giant ball of gas, and in order for us to learn anything about it, any probe that gets sent to the planet, well, let's just say that Jupiter is their final resting place. If it wasn't obvious enough yet, these three minifigures you see here are long gone, and they were the only ones in existence. Because of this, there's no way for us to know just how much they're actually worth. It could be anywhere from $10 to $10 million, depending on who you ask. Regardless though, these are by far some of the most valuable minifigures that have ever lived. May they rest in peace. Up next is a minifigure that was basically like a real-life Easter egg. This is the Crang minifigure, and back in 2012, you had to do something very out of the ordinary to get your hands on one. Every year, Comic-Con is held in San Diego and New York City. It's a huge event that's built up a giant name for itself over the years. Even back in 2012, Comic-Con was famous, so LEGO thought of a really funny way to get this minifigure. During the 4 days that Comic-Con was going on, if you walked into the LEGO store at Rockefeller Center in New York City, dressed up as a character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you'd be greeted with this ultra-rare Crang minifigure. This is honestly just hilarious. I'm not quite sure if this has been done for any other minifigure, but it literally felt like a side quest from a video game. Even with all of these factors though, the Crang minifigure is only worth around $450 today, which is pretty low considering what you had to do to get it and how old it is. While we're on the topic of Comic-Con, there's one last minifigure that I want to talk about that came from one of these events, and it's actually the most expensive minifigure in this video. This is the Spider-Man with red lower legs minifigure, and it calls for a price of over $10,000. It was exclusively available at the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, and the reason it's worth so much more than the other Comic-Con minifigures is because this was actually the first time LEGO used these booster packs. Speaking of these booster packs, they actually play a huge role in how much this minifigure sells for. If you had one of these guys sealed in the original pack, you could sell it for upwards of $16,000. But if you had the minifigure outside the pack, you could only sell it for around $5,000, which is still an insane amount of money, but it does not compare to the sealed price. I mean, come on though. This is Spider-Man we're talking about. If any minifigure is going to be the most expensive, then it has to be him. Okay, I feel a little bad showing you guys a Spider-Man minifigure that's that expensive. So let me go ahead and show you one that's super cheap. This is just a regular old LEGO Spider-Man minifigure, of which there are many, but this one is one of the cheapest. If you wanted one of these guys for yourself, you could pick it up for literally less than $1. The shipping and taxes makes it a little more expensive, but I mean, come on, less than $1? That's a steal. Last but certainly not least is another minifigure that's only ever been released in one set. This is the Max Rebo minifigure, and you might not recognize him, but he's actually from the LEGO Star Wars theme. Max Rebo is a musician who doesn't make an appearance in the Star Wars movies until Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. He hardly has any screen time, and he doesn't have a singular line in the entire movie, but that didn't stop LEGO from including him in a set. The singular LEGO set this guy can be found in is called Jabba's Sail Barge, a set from back in 2013. The set itself is actually pretty cool, but has gone up a lot in price over the years, currently sitting at around $400. This isn't the case for Max Rebo though. You can find Max Rebo in pretty good condition for around $80 to $100 if you're buying from someone on eBay. It's a good thing this guy isn't worth more than the set he comes with, or else I don't think anybody would be buying him. $500 would be a little crazy. What was your favorite minifigure in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.